Actually got a couple questions via email. Mohammed from Progress Campus asks, can the Raptors really support 2 starting point guards? Are Jose and TJ legit starters?
I'm tired of this Jose and TJ.
Okay, listen to the Fan 590 in an hour.
You know what? I'm just going to be very, very brief. I don't care. I really don't, because I think we're at a point now, we got 11 games to go. The focus should not be on minutes, should not be on ego, who's starting, who's not starting. This club needs to win games. They need to win a round in the playoffs, in my opinion, to have a successful year. All these issues with players will take care of itself in the offseason.
I'll touch on it real quickly. I think based upon having 11 games left in the year and then the playoffs, I still think it's an incomplete picture. I think that picture is formulating rather quickly, but I think these are important games down the stretch, and you find out a lot about people in those games. I do think when it's all said and done, they're going to have to make a decision one way or the other with what direction they want to go. And with that decision, before you make that decision, you also have to make a decision on how you're going to formulate the remainder of your roster based upon that. So again, it's not just the tree, it's the forest. So when you make a decision on whether to keep TJ Ford or whether to keep Jose Calderon, the players that play around them have to fit that too. And the philosophy of the coach has to fit that, and the philosophy of what you plan on doing going forward has to fit that.
Well, that makes sense. We have another one. Sarah from Massage Therapy at HP Campus asks, how big is an NBA training staff, and is it different from team to team? And why do players like Garbo get treatment during games?
Okay, well, when we started 10 years ago, the trainer was Chuck Mooney.
Mm-hmm. And Ray Chow.
And Ray Chow, and that was it.
Yeah, it's grown now.
And it's grown. And what happened is, I really think when Vince started going down, all of a sudden the ownership said, we need to invest and we need to think along the lines of expanding where we're at. And we have a great staff. I'm very, very proud. I mean, I'm not an X's and O's guy. I'm not in there watching them, work on players and whatnot. But I can tell you how the players respond to them, and they do a fantastic job. They really do.
It's interesting, and I think that's a growing field. And the young lady, I guess, it sounds like she's interested in wanting to do that. With pro sports, so much money invested, and not just basketball, but NHL, Major League Baseball, NFL, CFL, whatever the case may be. There's so much money invested. These are assets, and you want to get a positive return on these assets. So I think teams are more and more open to adding people to enhance the value of your assets, and not only from a professional standpoint, from a collegiate standpoint as well. I think that's a growing field that if you're good at what you do, you could find work in it.
I will take it back to the audience. Jack, do you feel the Raptors should try to gain the 6th seed and play Orlando, or fight for the 5th and play Cleveland?
Well, I've always been a believer you fight for everything you can get. So I would like to see them get first if they could. But obviously that's not realistic. But if they could get 5th, I'd want them to get 5th, even though the matchup probably with Orlando would be more favorable than Cleveland. At the same time, I think realistically speaking, I think the Orlando matchup would probably be the most favorable to the Raptors. I'm convinced. I'm convinced that they can win that series. I don't think Orlando has a great home court advantage. I think the Raptors could go there and win a game or two. You got a lot of retirees down there wearing Hawaiian shirts, just hanging out. There's not a lot of passion in the building, and I think they can go steal a game or two there. And I think this is a great home court, and I think it could be a series that could go 6 or 7 games, and they can win it.
Here's my thought process regarding the playoffs, and this is something I just did a life lesson with my kids last night. Don't be satisfied knowing that you're going into a test and you're going to pass the test. Just don't be satisfied of saying I can pass the test and I can get an 80. Try for a 90. And this whole thing about seeds, and while we might be more comfortable at 6th and 5th, if you go into that mindset into the playoffs saying, well, that's all right because now we can turn it on, we're going to beat Orlando, I think you've got to approach whether it's the New York Knicks, who are horrible and dysfunctional and a mess, but you've got to have the same mindset as you would if you're playing the Phoenix Suns, or Sunday against the New Orleans Hornets, or against the Boston Celtics. There should be no slippage, because once you create that slippage saying, well, that's all right because ... I think you run into problems. And I think that's why people are always saying mentally you've got to, navigate your way through it.
And there's a line I use all the time. I think it was Aristotle or Plato or Joe Bag of Donuts. I'm not sure who said it, but excellence is a habit, not an act. And what Chuck's saying, and I agree 100%, you got to formulate good habits. You got to develop good habits. And the best habits are you're finding a way every day to be really good at what you do. And if you do that, let the chips fall where they may, and you might get fifth. But you can't kind of be cute. That's an act. Good teams, successful people have good habits.
Okay, and we have just one more minute to go, and I just wanted to ask one quick question. What do you guys' crystal balls tell you for the West? They're all so close.
I'll tell you, my crystal ball is
out of a hat.
that Seattle is headed to the lottery. Okay, no. You know what? I'll tell you one team that's in a free fall, and that's Dallas. I don't know who's going to win the West because it changes week to week with who's hurt and who's not hurt. But I think Dallas has a chance. If they're not careful, they could be on the outside looking in.
If the Lakers and Spurs are healthy as they go through the Western Conference playoffs, I could see one of those two teams winning it.
Okay, perfect. Thanks very much. I'd like to thank our guests, Chuck Swirsky.
Thanks, Matt.
Jack Armstrong.
Thank you very
for being
much.
with us today.
Appreciate it. Thanks, folks.
Centennial TV.